Good morning, everybody. JB, I got to say, first off, dedication right there, folks. I'm getting the set ready this morning around 7:54 a.m., and I look up and I actually was mortified because I saw JB. Now, not because he didn't have hair and makeup done yet, but I'm like, oh my God, is my clock off by an hour or something? What the hell's going on here?
Didn't fall back yet, no.
No, I'm like on my iPhone here, like, what time is it? But no, dedication from JB. He was testing his video and audio early to make sure he had it right. Good for you, buddy. And I know you're not necessarily a morning person like me, but it is what it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, last night my wife had to get to work early anyway, so I was up.
Okay. Well, there you go. At least we've got that. Last night, I got to cover, a Ballston Spa high school football game locally, and got a good reminder of the Scotties. Yes, got a good reminder of why I love, high school and D3 football, and how life comes full circle sometimes too. So first off, we'll go to the still photo that I had posted on Facebook, or on Twitter and Facebook actually last night. The number one player there is Nico Savini. He's the QB1 for Ballspa High School, but he was having a bad night. It happens, okay? And you'll see here Luigi Fiorini, who's the person, number 3. You can't really see his number there, but he's kind of in front of Nico there, and played QB for the 2 scoring drives that led to the 26-16 victory there. And great job by Luigi, great job by Nico to be a team player through and through. He was back in as quarterback to end the game. Again, it happens to every quarterback out there. Ask the Zach Boyses of the world, and ask, all the guys. And ask George Marinopoulos, who, funny thing, at halftime last night, I'm being approached as I'm talking to friends by somebody with a Gilderland shirt on, and I hear, Frank! And I'm like, oh God, I usually take my defensive politician posture when that happens these days. And I was like, oh my God, it's George Marinopoulos. He's an assistant coach over at Gilderland now. And based on the quarterback's play and arm, he must be teaching well over there, because George's QB was doing a great job to get his team in position to possibly win that game. About 4 drop passes. I felt horrible for the QB, because he was spot on some great throws, and they couldn't catch the ball for him. It is what it is. It happens in high school football, happens in D3 football, and at any level it happens. So again, congratulations to the Scotties. We're in the purple in their honor again today. And one surprise we've had this season, and I bring it up in quick hits coming out later today on D3Football.com, is there's a question about who will be the most surprising 5-0 team this season. For me, it's Utica. And our friend Tony Maldonado takes us through what will be the next game on their schedule this Saturday versus the Hartwick Hawks. I'm a little bit concerned after watching this video.
Homecoming.
Yes, it is. I'll leave this on the screen with it, and you'll see our reactions to Tony Maldonado's video.
Big Tone here, different type of show. Utica President has put out a call of action. Mr. President, I know you cannot confirm nor deny our existence. I am here to tell you we are at MooseCon 1. MTF 1 has been activated. That's Moose Mania Task Force 1. Moose Savage is our incident commander. Macho Man Moose Savage is on special assignment. We cannot tell you what he is doing right now. I can't share with you, I have been authorized to share a small portion of an interrogation tape of a prisoner of war that we have recovered from Hartwick. This assailant's name is Freddie Freebird. Take a look.
This is Moose 1 here, stand by. Now, I can't tell you exactly where we're at, but I will show you a small portion of the interrogation tape of this loser we caught behind enemy lines. And his name is Freddie Freebird. Freddie Freebird, you got some answers to give.
Oh, Freebird. Oh, Freebird.
Well, let's just say that Freddie Freebird gave us all the information we need. not to some regular business. Madman Malzahn, would you let the people know your thoughts on this week's homecoming game?
Week 5 Pioneers. What happens in week 5 when you play all-day football? What happens on the homecoming? We show them what all-day football is. No one can handle us in all-day football. No one can. Nobody can.
I mean, what are you going to do about it, Frank? What you gonna do when Musamania runs wild all over you?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send it the intro for season 16 of In the Huddle.
I'm still laughing at
I can't. I'm like wiping my eyes.
I love Big Tone, man. It's the best. Well, it was funny because, like you said about being undefeated. So we did a quick little project last night. We were kind of texting back and forth. So by my math, at this point, going into week 5, there's 241 teams in the division, including NESCAC schools. So there's three teams in the NESCAC that are 2-0. If we include them, out of that 241, there's 45 undefeated teams. Now note that 3 are like the asterisk teams because you have Wabash, UW Stout, and Platteville that have all played out of division, and they've either won or lost those games. They don't really count in the grand scheme of things. So that's 45 undefeated teams. There's going to be definitely less than that this weekend because a few of them are playing each other, like in the WEAC and other places. So it's getting smaller and smaller. But I have a good feeling that the Pioneers will save tracks. They'll find their mascot, the Big Moose, and go to 5-0 this weekend.
Ready flavor. Anyway. Also, we're aware JB's video is a little bit choppy. His audio is generally fine. We're working on solutions to that on his end. From what we understand, it's coming from his end. So just bear with it. We'll get that right as well. Yep, exactly. Stop playing all those games in the background there, JB. That's eating up your bandwidth. One other thing I want to ask people to do. I hear these stories all the time of staffs and actual teams watching our live Friday show in some way, shape, or form or another. And, it doesn't show up on our view count because that's just one view according to Facebook and Twitter. But if you're a team or staff right now watching our show, please snap a photo of you guys doing it and push it up on Twitter and let us see. Give us, a yell on our hashtag at D3FB Huddle. We're at Frank Ross here, both. And we'd like to see you're enjoying our live content because sometimes we like to know people are out there actually witnessing this live. So, JB, let's go to our games to watch here because we've got a lot of them. This is an extraordinary week compared to week 4, at least on paper. Now, week 4 was great. So here comes week number 5. And we're going to start in Region 1. And pretty much it's in-conference play across the board going on. We'll have a guest coming up on a couple slides from now, so we'll make sure he's ready to go, and he is waiting in the wings. So go ahead, JB, and bring us through Region 1.
Yeah, so there's a couple of really interesting games in the NEWMAC starting around noontime. You've got Springfield and their almost 700 yards of rushing offense from last week going into Worcester to take on WPI, who's off to a pretty good start. That'll be an interesting matchup for sure. Been playing in Western Massachusetts for many years now, so that sort of rivalry goes back a ways. Merchant Marine versus Salve is an interesting one, Frank. It's the first time the Mariners, I think, have headed up to Newport in a while. They're coming off a big win over SUNY Maritime. Salve, won big last weekend over MIT. It'll be interesting to see how these two teams match up. I had to throw in this awesome graphic that once again Bowdoin has come up with. They're doing a really funny job, putting their polar bear on snowboards and showing Middlebury's Panther crashing and burning there in the snow. It's not snowing in Vermont or Maine just yet, but pretty soon. UMass Dartmouth tries to keep their win streak going with a game at 5 o'clock at WestCon. There aren't going to be a lot of late games this weekend, so this is one of them to keep an eye on. The Corsairs are kind of cruising along there in the MASCAC, and so this is another big road game for them. Over
Bring
in
it to Region 2. Okay. Hold on. I'm calling time out, and it's my bad because I couldn't get my microphone on in time. But I noticed that JB, who gets first dibs on games of the week, but he kind of knows where I'm going to go certain times with him. He decided to pick 2 games of the week. So I said, what the hey, I'm going to do the same thing. And so you're going to see basically 3 games of the week total here from us on the right side there. And JB, go ahead and explain why we're going this way.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's the big game tonight between Muhlenberg and Ursinus. We'll talk about that pretty soon. Muhlenberg coming into the game ranked in the top 25. Ursinus is on a 9-game win streak, I believe, Frank. There's a lot of Bears fans out there that feel like maybe they should be the ones with the national ranking, given that they've beaten the Mules the last 2 years in a row now. So that's a huge game tonight. I believe you're going to be driving out there and providing some coverage, so keep an eye on @FrankRossi on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. But yeah, Hobart versus Ithaca on Saturday, big Liberty League conference rival kickoff between these two upstate New York schools. I'm a grad of Hobart, so I know we say we don't have a rooting interest in these games, but sometimes we have maybe just a little bit. And Catholic Susquehanna kicks off landmark play. W&J Grove City, 2 p.m. This could be for the PAC title. We talked about that a little bit in crunch time. If Grove City wins, we think that they're pretty much a lock to that Pool A bid. But W&J has looked awesome. I've been talking them up since the preseason, so we'll see how that plays out. And hey, look at this, Frank. Finally, Salisbury versus Christopher Newport, the game I thought was supposed to be last weekend. Well, it's going to be this weekend at 2 o'clock. The winner of this game will have a pretty strong lead there in the NJAC race. And then Brockport, St. John Fisher. Want to talk about feeling old, Frank? Look at this. Courage Bowl 18. They've been doing this for almost 20 years now. We've been covering it for the last 15, give or take. And it's a great cause for the camp. I think it's good days, for young people that are fighting cancer. And so it's a really great cause between these two Rochester area schools. And I know we'll be keeping an eye on that one. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff.
What's interesting is I can see in the background our guest because I have the full scenes here. And when you mention the fact that Muhlenberg's ranked, but Ursinus, who's also undefeated, is not, I noticed a little smirk on his face that formed, and it's right there still right now. We're going to get that smirk from Brett Gross, senior linebacker of Ursinus College here. The Bears host number 23 Friday at 7 p.m. it says there. Brett, is there a little chip on the shoulder on this whole ranking situation? Because you guys have won 9 straight, looking for number 10 tonight. I mean, first off, welcome. But, I mean, how is the team feeling about this respect level right now?
First off, thank you guys for having me. Second off, we're just excited for the challenge. They're a very good team, very good scheme, very good players. And we're just hoping that we're prepared. We feel like we're prepared, we're confident, and we're ready for the challenge that is the game tonight.
It's going to be a big challenge for sure. Under the lights and everything else, it's going to be a great game. Go ahead, JB.
Well, Brett, I mean, you're a senior, so you've been there for the last couple of wins over Muhlenberg. I mean, you're not going to give away any of the company secrets or the game plan for tonight, but when you look back on those last 2 games, what do you think were some of the key things that helped you guys beat them?
For the past 2 years, we were able to create some turnovers. Last year, we were able to force a fumble, which was huge. and then our offense was able to go down and score. 2 years ago, Aaron Anderson was able to get a pick six on a throwback, which was huge in that game as well, and another red zone pick he had 2 years ago. So I think those were key contributors in our ability to win those games.
Brett, the Centennial Conference has always been viewed as a strong conference. Obviously, a little bit of shifting around going on right now because of the landmark situation. And now, when people talk about this conference, they talk about three teams: Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and your team, the Bears. And that was not the case in years gone by. We've been around for long enough to know that you kind of were in that Juniata kind of basement dwell at times in people's views, at least in conference play. What made you want to come to this school, despite maybe things are starting to turn around, obviously, when you got there, but what made you want to come and be a part of this? And how did you guys, as senior class and super seniors that are there right now, how did you guys get this thing to kind of go to where we are right now, where we talk about you in the same breath as those other big schools right now?
Here, we had big expectations. I think they were coming off a bowl win against Miss Concordia. So there was high expectations that next year, and we ended up not meeting those expectations. And as a freshman, I didn't really like the feeling of losing, coming from a good high school program. And my old head coach at Archbishop Wood, who is Coach Devlin and Coach Kyle Atkins, are both here now. So that kind of played a little bit of a role in coming here. I also, when I came on my visit, it was just a family feel. I like the guys here. Everyone gelled together really nice, and it was a great culture. So it was just something I wanted to be a part of, and I felt like we were heading in the right direction. We just needed to execute on the field.
Well, speaking of execution, a buddy of mine saw you guys in person when you went to Rowan, and you guys really flexed a pretty strong defensive muscle there. Keeping them in check for a long time. I know that they scored about 20-something points, but that was kind of after this game was pretty well in hand. On the flip side, though, I noticed that last season we had. And Frank's going to have to help me out, but Jack P., the former quarterback, who I believe has graduated and moved on, but this new guy, Jalen Bradford, has been playing pretty well. He had a big game against Rowan, 19-25 for almost 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. You see this guy in practice all the time. Was this season sort of, you guys were just waiting for him to get his chance to kind of get the start, and how is he doing so far?
He's doing great. Jalen's been awesome. He's a leader in the locker room. Even though he's not one of the captains, but he's a big leader and contributor to this team. He was kind of just waiting to get his chance. Jack's a great quarterback. So is Jalen, and Jalen just waiting to get his chance, and he has his chance this season, and he's doing a pretty good job so far.
Before the season, was the goal to win Pool A? Was the goal to win this Centennial Conference? And what was the confidence level that locker room had coming into this season that is very much a possibility? And for that matter, how many super seniors do you guys have from what you can tell me, or the fifth years, whatever we call them these days? Because we see varying amounts across D3 right now, and we're always interested in to see how it affects things. Greg Thomas's piece in Around the Nation about it this week is very spot on. But kind of tell us about the view coming into the season, who came back for that fifth year, and what the confidence level was.
So we have 4, which is myself, Ryan Bedolis, Joshua Payne, and Billy Cook. Last year, we were very close to going undefeated. I'm sure everyone knows the scores of the games that we lost. So we were pretty confident coming into this year. We just know we have to take it one game at a time, execute every game, every down, just break it up into little pieces. And, we have a very confident group, defensively and offensively, and we're just ready for the year.
So this guy is headed your way tonight and into Collegeville, Pennsylvania, which couldn't be a better name for a Division III town. What can the mayor expect when he gets into Collegeville? It looks like you guys are a little northwest of Philly, sort of tucked in there in the corner there of PA. I mean, what is Collegeville like? What's a Friday night lights, your Ursinus game vibe going to be like for him tonight?
Usually there's people tailgating. I know on Saturdays, if we have a Saturday game, there's people here at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning already tailgating. So I would expect people to be there tailgating when he arrives, and I would expect a big student show out for the huge game that we have tonight.
Oh, somebody has already hit me up to say I should go to the what is it, Collegeville Bakery or something like that. Is that tell me a little bit about that place so that I can choose. I love the fact that people now are sending me food recommendations without us even asking anymore. Or we say, hey, Frank's gonna be somewhere, and they're like, right. You gotta go here, you gotta go there. I'll be 300 pounds by the end of the season. But tell me about Collegeville Bakery and why that one.
The Collegeville Bakery is just awesome. They have great food. The milkshakes are awesome. They have great chicken cutlets. And if you go in there, a bunch of famous people will go in there and they'll take pictures. So they have all their pictures up on the wall. They have a Joel Embiid milkshake, Reese Hoskins shake. So it's definitely worth the trip. It's amazing there. It's amazing.
I doubt there's going to be a Frank Rossi shake coming anytime soon there, or his picture on the wall. Let me just be honest about that, folks. But Brett, kind of give us your last thoughts here on this game. I mean, what does it mean for this game to be under the lights for you guys? Knowing that it's a showcase game, especially the way things have played out the last couple of years and everything else. And, what kind of adrenaline does that bring to you having the home game here?
It brings a lot of adrenaline. We've been waiting 2 weeks for this game because we had the bye week last week. We're all just excited to get back out there, especially under the lights. Playing Saturday afternoon is nice, but there's something different about playing under the lights. It'll add that extra edge for everybody, Muhlenberg and us. So everyone should be ready to go. I mean, everyone's fired up for this game, and I'm expecting a great matchup tonight.
JB, do the honors.
Well, Brett, thank you again for joining us. We've been big fans of the Bears as we've gotten to know you guys a little better over the last few seasons. And as your former teammate may have given you a heads up, we do a little tradition here on In the Huddle where we like to give the student-athlete guests an opportunity to give shout-outs to any friends, family, teammates, what have you. So the floor is yours. Brett Gross.
First off, shout out to my parents. I don't think my parents have missed a football game in my whole career playing football. Second off, shout out to all my teammates. These are the guys that I do it for. Play next to them. Shout out to my coaches, Coach Gallagher, Coach Devlin, Coach Menard, Coach Lampart, Coach Atkins, Coach Latier, Coach Quigley. They're awesome. We wouldn't be here or in this position without them.
Well, always glad to see the family that supports the players for sure, and kudos to your parents for not missing a game ever, and kudos to that coaching staff for getting this team into this position where we've, after how many years, we have 2 straight seasons, I think this is, with guests from the Bears, and congratulations to you guys, but I know you don't want the congratulations until really you get to the pinnacle that you're aiming for here. So tonight's going to be a big game on the way to it, looking for 10 straight. That really, if you throw out NESCAC schools, Trinity, you guys have the second longest winning streak in Division III, let's say playoff-bound teams, we'll call it that way. North Central's number 1, and Ursinus is number 2 on that list. So we'll see where it goes tonight. I will see you tonight, Brett. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Brett.
Brett Gross, senior linebacker at Ursinus College, and thanks to everybody over there in their sports information group and coaching staff that helped us get that interview together. It's going to be an interesting game. Predicting it's going to be very interesting. I promise you that later, so stay tuned to that or for that coming up soon. So you'll want to see that one and where we go with it. I don't know where you're going to go with this. I'm curious to see what you pick in this game, JB. I have a notion where you might go with it, but this may be the week where our predictions really go like this, and we have some real divergence in our scores after this week. We'll see. Stay tuned for predictions. But first, we'll talk about more games we will predict as we go through the overview of the regions. Here's Region 3 and JB.
Yeah, well, there you have it. On the right-hand side there's a picture of Trinity taking on Barry. I'm actually going to shoot up to Georgia, hopefully catch a flight. We'll see. They're already, the airline is doing some funny stuff, but I'm 99% sure that I will be there on a very hot Saturday afternoon. It's going to be about 90 degrees for kickoff down there on the field. So I'm going to try to get the Viking walk and all that stuff. This is, in my opinion, the de facto SAA championship game, just the way both of these teams have been blowing through their opponents, winning by large margins. I think whoever can come out with a win today will be the champion of that conference. We'll see. Elsewhere in the ODAC, we have a good Bridgewater-Hamden-Sydney matchup. Those games are always great. In Region 3 at 2 o'clock, this is actually a potential game of the week, too. It's kind of flying under the radar with some of these other games, but Howard Payne versus Hardin Simmons. Can the Cowboys pick themselves up off the mat after an embarrassing, 27-point loss?
Well, there's an interesting subplot going on right now with Hardin Simmons in that Galen Glenn is injured, and I believe one of their backups may have appendicitis or something like that is what Coach Burleson had suggested. So I don't know what to expect here with respect to their offense on Saturday, but they need to show up compared to what happened versus Endicott. So, look, injuries or not, and our friends of the third division said this, essentially, look, you're supposed to have depth if you're going to be in a national powerhouse, so shake it off somehow, some way, guys, at Hardin Simmons, because Landon McKinney is coming to town, and that's no small, no small problem for them to have ultimately. So this could be very interesting to see how this plays out. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people on D3 Football's Quick Hits pick Howard Payne. That was not my top 25 upset. You'll hear about mine a little bit later, who I'm picking on that. But stay tuned on that game for sure. That's going to be an interesting game. And Shenandoah at Ferrum is going to be an interesting one too. We both picked Trinity at Barry because honestly, that is, to me, the SAA title game. I just don't see who else in the SAA has that level right now. Maybe Southwestern could surprise a couple teams here and there.
Hendricks.
I just don't see it yet.
They're slinging the ball a lot. Yeah, I mean they need to work on their defense, but I know Bonnet, their quarterback, is number one in the country as far as passing yards and touchdowns and all that stuff. So who knows?
It's a question of who you're playing so far, though. Too, I think. I mean, what was it? McMurray was who they had? Or no, that was against Birmingham Southern. But Hendricks' resume to me did not, flag anything great when I was looking at that last week, especially. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe a premature thing, but the interesting thing about Trinity versus Barry is the loser is still in the Pool C race. 8-2 Trinity, because of their resume, has a chance, no doubt. 9-1 Barry has a chance as well, obviously, out there. So we'll see where it goes. They don't want to go through Pool C if they can avoid it. Pool A is where they want to go. And ultimately, we'll watch that one. You'll watch that one. But are you really suggesting that airlines have issues these days? I mean, are you really suggesting that?
You never had a problem with that, Frank? Yeah. I mean.
Never. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I just hope I hope I don't have a San Antonio situation like you had and stuck in the airport all night. That would not be great. But anyway, let's talk about
that's not fair to San Antonio. That was a JFK issue ultimately and a JetBlue issue. So I'm not doing that to San Antonio because it was Austin having the same issue and everything else that was coming out of there that day. It was a JFK issue. So Texas, I still love you. Don't worry. Okay, go ahead on Region 4.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting Region 1 to Region 4 across town, cross country, middle of the country sort of a game here between Alfred State and Olivet. That's not something we see very often, so I thought that was a kind of one to flag up. Wabash, Ohio Wesleyan, always a great matchup between those two schools. Same thing with Wittenberg and Denison. These are some very old school NCAC rivalry games. Ohio Northern versus Mount Union. who knows how close that'll be, but you typically, once we get into OAC play, things get a little more interesting for Mount Union. We shall see. Looks like you like the ONU Mount Union game. I'm going to stick with Wabash and Ohio Wesleyan for Region 4. Looks like can't hear you, Van.
I know. I realized it once I looked up. Yep. I picked that game because it's kind of the first of the Big Four scenario for Mount Union to face at this point, and so I'm curious to see how they respond after some ups and downs with scores and whatnot. This is kind of the beginning of their gauntlet play to the degree that there's a gauntlet in the OAC underneath them. And so we'll see where it goes. Can ONU challenge them? We brought up this game actually from 2005 all of last week. So here it is presenting itself on the schedule. I mean, would it have the impact of the 2005 version if ONU were able to pull an upset like that? No. It's not the same streak going in for Mount Union necessarily, but it's still pretty healthy if they were able to upset them. We'll see where it goes, and that's why we go there. And we go from there to, let's go to a big screen on Region 5 because there's a big game from Little Bell.
Yeah, and there you see in the picture the trophy for the Little Brass Bell between North Central and Wheaton. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff. I think before the broadcast, Frank, you were kind of saying, like, why not throw this in, to the night game mode? Or actually, maybe you said it during the broadcast. We're flying by here already, 30 minutes in. Co versus Wartburg, though, in the ARC is interesting. I mean, can anybody challenge the Knights? We saw Co win by 50 last weekend. Are the Cohawks able to give them a run for their money? We'll find out. Carroll also is an undefeated team in the CCIW. And they're going to Augustana, who hung in there with Wheaton, went blow for blow. As you saw in crunch time, it was a 7-point game when it was all said and done. I really think this Vikings team is strong. Now they, with the loss to Wheaton, chances of them, getting into a Pool C is probably limited. But hey, maybe they're still my favorite pick for the Isthmus Bowl. I think, assuming that North Central and Wheaton do find a way to get into the playoffs. We'll find out. You'll see firsthand there in Chicagoland how that goes.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this. First time ever going to the Little Brass Bell game. First time ever at Wheaton. We've gotten some pings on things I should do while I'm in Wheaton land over there. And tailgate, apparently. Well, it's interesting. Apparently, you sign up for the pregame tailgate, so I've got to try to do that. But I'm also trying not to curse myself on my own flight situation because I'm flying in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that works from LaGuardia. So maybe it's better from LaGuardia than JFK. Ultimately, we'll see. But interesting path I've got to follow over this next 24 hours. Basically, from here in upstate New York down to Collegeville, Pennsylvania, over to New York City, and then flying from LaGuardia over to Chicago, driving to Wheaton, and then go spend time with friends in Chicago Saturday night before flying back on Sunday morning and driving back up here on Sunday afternoon. So this is going to be an interesting next, actually it's called 36 hours or so, or 48.
Yeah.
But we'll make it happen. That's what we do here. And then you'll wonder why crunch time is late again next week. And you look no further than that schedule that I just put out there.
You might as well just say Wednesday is just the day. I mean,
don't do that because then I will be Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So we'll stick with Tuesdays then. We'll just keep
Yeah,
our
no
fingers crossed.
kidding.
Maybe it's only week 5. We still have about 6 more weeks to go.
We got better this week, at least. We're slowly but surely getting it to the spot it should be in. Let's go to Region 6 and some huge games in the WEAC.
Yeah, no, it's going to be all about Wisconsin in Region 6 this weekend. Platteville's taking on River Falls. As we said before, the Pioneers are one of those asterisk undefeated teams. They're going to see if they can take down the Falcons, who are, I think, as high as like number 5 in the country right now in the D3Football.com national poll. So this is a big game for both teams. St. John's is going to take on an Augsburg team who we saw, won a very close game last weekend. And so this is something to kind of keep an eye on as maybe like an undercard. But for me anyway, the big game is Whitewater going to take on the Titans at Oshkosh. They've got a 5 minutes. I don't know what they're doing from 2 2 to 205. Maybe there's a flyover, or some guy's going to land on the field with a parachute, or they'll be handing out their Titan beer, whatever they've got there. So should be an exciting environment. Big game for both teams, particularly for Oshkosh as the home team, trying to get back in it after a tough loss to Wheaton a couple weeks ago. On the West Coast, we've got one red-eye game with Chapman versus Cal Lutheran at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. And it looks like Frank's going with the Pios against the Falcons, and I've got the Warhawks against the Titans for our game of the week in Region 6.
Well done, JB, and couldn't said it better myself. We do have a split in the WEAC games. I want to see if River Falls is that same team that played well against that Mirror Hardin Baylor squad in Week 1, and this will be the test to show it, I think, ultimately. Let's see. We've got a little bit of a hype video here that I was very impressed with, and it kind of buttresses what I'm going to be doing on tomorrow, and it's a little bit of a preview to the Little Brass Bell game, North Central at Wheaton.
Let's roll. It's the game you've thought about, the one you've dreamt about, the one that kept you going, running those stadiums when the thermostat said 13, and 6 a.m. workouts as the sun is still sleeping. It's kept your legs pumping through training in the summer heat. And just when everything inside you is telling you to give up, you don't. You won't, because the thought of victory eluding you one more time is worse than the pain you're feeling now. This is for the bell. This one's been circled for a year, and while it's steeped in tradition, story, and rivalry, it's not determined by any of the last 100 years that these teams have gone to battle. So ignore the hype, the press, the rankings, and the crowd. You must be relentless. You must do your job. This is for the bell. It's the battle between you and the guy lined up across from you. To be the best, you have to beat the best. Drown out the noise. You have set your sights on this goal. Your daily effort, dedication, and determination have brought you to a unique and uncommon destination. You are now humble and hungry.
You like that?
Let's roll.
Chills.
Ding, ding.
Well done
Yeah.
by their folks over there. I believe Wheaton produced it ultimately, but whoever produced it, congratulations, well done. It's interesting when we run our hype videos every so often and whatnot. I was at Trinity on, Week 2. And one of their video guys says, hey, thank you for last year for all the kudos you gave us for our hype video that you played. And I was like, well, I don't remember a Trinity one. And it was the ETBU guy who had produced the one in the museum with the two players kind of going around the museum with the mannequins and everything. He was over at ETBU last year, and he caught the fact that we promoted that video, and I thanked him for not playing copyright unsafe music ultimately so that we don't get dinged. I actually tested the last video to make sure it didn't flag anything on Facebook at this point. That's how nervous I am about it at this point. But we got through it. We made it happen. And it's time for predictions, JB. And like I said, I see some issues coming here. I really do. Everybody should be staying tuned to see where we go with things. I want to see where you go. I have no idea.
I think you said it well in our crunch time segment. We're not picking the easy ones, and we are definitely going after some of the biggest matchups every week. And so, it can get a little topsy-turvy here because there's been some upsets. There have been some kind of surprises here and there. So this weekend, there's a lot of toss-ups with conference play. You never know how it's going to shake out. So that's why they play the games. Here we go.
We're going to start the clock here, and get ready, folks. It could be a wild ride, and there it goes. So let's start with
Giddy up.
Springfield at WPI. And we're going to go to conference names now instead of regions, because that's basically where we're at for the rest of the season, with some small exceptions. Springfield WPI is in a new MAC, and I'll start this one with, I think Springfield's got to be looking at the edge here. I mean, this is a big game for the new MAC ultimately, and I think WPI will keep the score low, but Springfield wins a close one, 17-14 in this game.
Yeah, I just feel like the Pride have brought back just a few more players. I mean, although WPI has looked good here and there, the triple option offense with almost 700 yards last week, yeah, I'll stick with the Pride. I think it'll be like a 24-17 type of game.
Now, sticking in the new MAC, Merchant Marine at Salve Regina, the first time we can call this a new MAC game because of Salve Regina moving from the CCC. You'll start this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was struggling with this. Initially, I was leaning towards the Mariners. We have a long history with them dating back to our In the Huddle with 2 L's, Liberty League days. But I feel like Salve's been a little more battle-tested, and even though it was really rainy at Kings Point last weekend, they struggled early on with the Privateers. I think Salve at home, I think they learned the hard way from the loss with Rochester. They're bouncing back. I think Coach Gilmartin, as he mentioned in the article by Wally Wabash and Greg Thomas, they've got a lot of fifth-year seniors. It's a senior team. I'll go Seahawks. Higher scoring game, 35-28.
Yeah, the fifth-year senior situation I caught in that same article is important. I asked him about that when I was there against Framingham State that night on that Thursday. So I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to pick Salve Regina at home to beat Merchant Marine 31-24. Game I'm attending tonight, Muhlenberg at Ursinus. And I have an overlay, it looks like, according to many people, on where I'm putting Muhlenberg in my ballot. But I'm doing it for a reason. I think they are a strong team with Joe Rapetti having a year of maturity under his belt at the starting role. I think their defense is extraordinarily good right now, and this is a great test for them. And this is a test that, the last 2 years didn't necessarily go the way they thought it would. And so I'm saying Muhlenberg kind of gets the monkey off their back here, or the bear off their back, I guess. I think 30-21.
Well, it didn't go without me noticing the fact that the last time the Bears lost was this exact same weekend a year ago. 5-point loss to Susquehanna. If Muhlenberg really is supposed to be all that, they should win this game. Is the third time the charm? You know what? Heck, I'm going to go with Ursinus and their defense at home under the lights. We've seen the home teams do pretty well when you've been there, Frank. So I'm gonna ride the Rossi wave here. I think home teams are 6-1 for the games that you've been to so far. So I'm gonna say the Bears eke one out in like a field goal 24-21 type of game.
Nate Milne, what do you think about that?
Oh shit.
Again, you curse when you see it.
Par for the course.
I should have known. I should have known that this was in your back pocket. Oh man, I could go put my Muhlenberg polo on. That's very nice. And you know what? Actually, I have I have got the best thank you note I've ever received from Coach Milne right here. I just saved it in my little notebook. But hey, Frank, I'm just trying to provide your team extra motivation, Coach. What can I say?
Tried to put the Hobart hat on real quick. Tried to find the Muhlenberg polo real quick. But it is what it is. How's everybody doing? How are you guys doing? You guys ready?
I am so great right now. You don't even know.
You gotta be kidding me, man.
Maybe
you told me you told me it was good to get out of the house. So look at me. I'm going to be catching a flight to Georgia. I'm going to drive out to Rome or wherever, Mount Berry, and catch a game this weekend. Who knew?
That's awesome. It's a great weekend for football. I was super jacked up when I watched the that Wheaton video right there, man. I wish if I wasn't playing and coaching, that's a game that we'd love to be at, and I think it's a celebration of Division III football right there. You've got two great programs, Wheaton and North Central, getting after it, and obviously we've got Ursinus tonight. So a great weekend for small college football.
Sorry for jumping in there, but I was just going to say I like, though, the fact that you guys in the Centennial, it looks like does this by design, play games at night on occasion. That, to me, is a game that belongs on that stage at night. I'm not sure why they didn't do it, but, I'll enjoy it nonetheless. But you guys with a night game here, I've caught a couple night games with you, but versus Hopkins both times the last couple of years at each other's places. And that's going to be a big game, obviously, coming up soon. But clearly you're not going to be overlooking Ursinus this go around because they've been biting you in areas where you probably take it personally at this point, and your team knows that. I mean, what do you think here about this team? I mean, you and I were talking a little bit yesterday offline about things, and you have respect for some of their players for sure that have shown up at these games in the past. Give me your view on how this game starts to play out and how your team's looking at it right now.
Yeah, anytime you get into Centennial Conference play, you know the quality of opponents, and you know how good the Centennial Conference is. Obviously, Ursinus has one of the longest winning streaks in the country right now. Johns Hopkins has taken down Ithaca, Salisbury, Christopher Newport. We've taken down Salisbury, and then our former team in Susquehanna has gone on the road and beat, obviously, a really, really good Cortland team. And so when you look at these teams throughout not only our region, but throughout the country, on the Centennial and in the split with the Landmark, we've shown that we can play and win almost anywhere against anybody, defending conference champions. And so this region is as good as there is. Ursinus tonight presents a lot of problems. Their offensive line is dynamic. They've really pounded the rock on us the last couple of years and kind of found some flaws in our defense that maybe we didn't know were there early on in the football season. So we've hoped that we've worked out some of those kinks to stop the run. They're explosive on the edge with their wide receivers as well. They're going to roll through a bunch of guys and just keep taking shot after shot after shot with fresh legs. And then defensively, Coach Donnelly used to say it all the time. If you've got an elite player at each level, you've got a really good defense. And they've got a fantastic defensive end in Boldelis, who's led the country, I think, at one point in tackles for a loss. The linebacker, who I think you guys had on earlier, again, returning first-team all-conference. And then their safety is just outstanding as well. So when you look at them from a defensive standpoint, they've got an elite level player at all three levels, which is a recipe for success. And the other one is none of those guys are brand new players. They all come back from all conference campaigns. And so they've got quite a bit of experience and played in some really, really big games. It'll be just a fantastic matchup tonight. And we hope that as many people are watching to showcase what the Centennial Conference has as far as the depth of our conference.
Well, Coach, first off, I mean, I have to give a shout out to Frank with the elite head coach moniker there on on the intro. I love that. But in our interview we just had with Brett, the senior linebacker from Ursinus, he mentioned that one of the keys to beating you guys the last couple of years has been turnovers. And I imagine while you don't necessarily factor that into a game plan, you have to be talking to your guys to a certain extent about like, hey, let's just play our game. Let's not beat ourselves, because the tape pretty much shows the last couple of years where you come up short has been that. How do you, as a coach, sort of, mistakes will happen during a game, but how do you either minimize it or just avoid it altogether?
I think a couple of ways. Obviously, we've talked to Joe. As Frank mentioned, Joe's a year older. And even 2 years ago with fifth-year quarterback Michael Nakowski, who was as good as anybody was in the country, sometimes you feel pressure in these big games to do a little bit too much. We've been fortunate early on in the season to kind of take what the defense has been giving us offensively, and that's been holding on to the football. We were down a little bit against Salisbury early on in that football game. We were able to creep back into it by playing our style of football. Obviously, we want to run the football as well and use that play action pass, which has been very successful for many, many years, even going back to Susquehanna and when I was at Cortland as well. The offense hasn't changed entirely, or my philosophical things haven't changed entirely as far as calling plays. The run sets up the pass, or the play action pass sets up the run in what we do, and it makes it hard on defenses. What are those linebackers seeing? Are they seeing run? Are they seeing pass for us? And so we got a key on those things there. Again, hold on to the football, win the field position battle. Special teams will be critical tonight. They're very unique in what they do. And just like us, they put their best personnel out on the football field when it comes to special teams. So I think it'll be all three phases will be critical in a game like this tonight.
You know, Joe Rapetti actually impressed me on our preseason show interview, or our lead up to kickoff show that he was joining us on that Thursday. He seemed a lot more comfortable in just even the interview, let alone, being quarterback, a leader and everything else. He's exuding a certain confidence and comfort right now, and not in a bad way, because I know being comfortable can sometimes lead to problems too. But no, for him, I've just been impressed to see his maturation process for sure. But Coach, this game and Hopkins now, it just seems to be the circles now on the calendar. Like you said, the landmark split has sort of done certain things here. But what it's also done is it's giving you an opportunity to play teams you have not really been able to meet before, because you've got more opportunities for out-of-conference games. How did you like that feature this year, and how did your out-of-conference games set you up, do you feel, for these challenges ahead?
We've enjoyed our crossover games with the NJAC. Obviously, we're very fortunate to keep our classic rivalry game with Moravian. And so we're excited about the future of that game. We'll continue to play that game week 1 for the foreseeable future, as both conferences still have openings in week 1. So the Muhlenberg-Moravian game isn't going anywhere for a long, long time. Both of our administrations and both myself and Coach Long are on the same page with that one. And then the NJAC obviously has some really quality football teams. And then for us, it's critical for recruiting areas as well. Obviously, Muhlenberg and Allentown is right on the border of New Jersey. We're less than 90 minutes from the state of Maryland, so we can go down and play a Salisbury, or they come up here. Obviously, it gives us some brand recognition in the DMV. And then when we're going on the road to play TCNJ and Montclair, those are areas where many of our players are from, and hopefully future players will be from as well. So for us, it's been pretty good for a number of different reasons. And obviously starting out 3-0 has felt pretty good as well, playing some new teams.
And for the viewers out there that are not from this area, the DMV is not that place with a long line and that you hate to go for your license, but the Marva area of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Just to be clear out there, JB, go ahead.
Well, Coach, I think, we've talked a little bit about the X's and O's, but we know the most important game plan you guys have to have for tonight is to somehow ward off the Rossi curse, because the home teams have been winning a lot when he's been in town. Are you going to keep him on the Bears sideline for the whole time? I mean, how can you mitigate this potential distraction to your players and fans that'll be kind of walking up and down the sidelines in his khaki pants? I mean, what do you got for me?
Number one, there's no controlling Frank Rossi, the mayor, and what he's going to bring to any atmosphere that he's a part of. Obviously, the tailgates will be electric tonight. Obviously, the sideline will be electric tonight. Everybody understands when the mayor's in town what you're in for. I would say it's borderline college game day like with the atmosphere on there, similar to Colorado when they brought out Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. When The Rock came out and the crowd goes nuts.
Exactly.
When you see Frank Rossi, the place goes absolutely nuts for him. It'll be difficult. Obviously, the Mules, I think, were 0-3 in the last Frank Rossi appearances. So Hopkins last year, Mary Hardin Baylor last year, and Mount Union.
No, not so fast. Not.
Mount
Oh
Union.
yeah, you're right. Actually, okay, you're right.
Union.
Shoot, you're right.
I think this could be Frank's last appearance if things don't go well.
Yeah,
for the
I
Mules.
think so. I'm gonna ban him from your game.
We'll call in the reliever here to bring JB up to town if things don't go well, I don't know. He may have a flat tire and not be able to make it to the Little Brass Bell tomorrow night.
But don't you feel slighted by the fact that JB, he can get on a plane to go to the Atlanta area, but he can't get on a plane to go to the Philly area for this game?
I think there are some restrictions based on Geneva, New York, not allowing him in the airspace and things like that. I don't know if his alumni donations haven't come through yet for Hobart College, but anytime he's in the Northeast, I think there could be some issues there. So I understand why he has to stay down south.
Did Buckner give you did Buckner give you any kind of report or warning about, when he showed up at the MIT game, anything crazy or unusual that happened? Because I know every so often you might reach out to Buckner and talk to him, but clearly when you saw DEFCON 5 go up and, JB in town in the Cambridge area, you had to wonder what was going to happen over there.
No, the only thing Brian said is for the travel that JB used a fake name. So he wasn't allowed to, it was incognito, similar to when the president travels. Yeah. It was an incognito moment on there, and he just kind of showed up.
Hail to the chief indeed. JB, I'm going to close this out by saying to Coach, you got your hands full tonight. There's no doubt about it. In all seriousness, this is a great team you're facing. You have a great team as well, though. I'm excited to see this game. Thank you to whoever put this one on a Friday night because it enables me, also thanks to a referee shortage in upstate New York here for the high school beat that changed Balsa Spa to Thursday. I get a chance to drive down, see this game, and still go catch a Little Brass Bell tomorrow. So some elite football across my destinations as well as JB. So this is going to be the start of a great weekend, 7 p.m. tonight. Coach Milne, thanks for joining us. Really, thank you for joining us. And best of luck here.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, Coach Gallagher and Ursinus, again, coming off of a bye week. They were the ones that suggested this. And it gives our players an extra day off on both sides, Ursinus and Muhlenberg. It gives our players a little extra time off coming off of the bye week. So this was, again, a good idea by Coach Gallagher. And a lot of the teams in the Centennial coming off of a bye week have played on Friday nights. I know it's a little bit difficult with Friday Night Lights around here. But when we're looking out for the best interest of our programs, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Happy that it helps you out a lot, Frank. That's usually what goes into our thought process as well as how can we make Frank Rossi happy. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate you guys, everybody in the huddle, everybody at D3Football.com. Again, we appreciate your support, providing a platform for our student athletes and the recognition that these student athletes deserve here at the small college level from across the country. I know everybody feels the same way about you guys and everybody at D3Football.com as well. So appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. You
Coach
sandbagger, you totally had that one in your pocket. Oh my God, I walked right into that one.
But I didn't know for sure you were going to do it. I was like, I have a 50-50 feeling that you were going to go there.
The only reason I started thinking about your track record here, and like Coach said, you're going to be banned from Muhlenberg games pretty soon. So maybe they'll get. This is a total toss-up game. Either team could win, I think. So I think it's great that they did it on a Friday night. It's the only D3 game on tonight at all, so it's like prime time. And it gets the focus of the whole country if you're a D3 fan. So I'm excited for them and the kids. I think it's going to be a great game, and I'll look forward to tuning in.
We're going to get the music back on. We put only 5 minutes on the clock. We're going to have to kind of hustle through the rest of what we've got here. And so I'm going to get the next game up, and you can start it. I believe I skipped over one just to make sure you went second, because that's the kind of guy I am. Washington Jefferson at Grove City. Forgive me for the capital A there by accident. But JB, go ahead. This could be the PAC championship game maybe for Grove City, or it could make things extend here if Washington Jeff wins.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one because Grove City looked so good against Carnegie Mellon last weekend. But I also feel like I'd be a hypocrite if I picked against W&J, who I've said was a top 25 team in the preseason, and I like everything that's going on with the Presidents. But how do you pick against Grove City at home? I don't know if you can do that. But they beat them by 20 last year, so I'm going to go with the Presidents in a road upset, I guess. It just feels like Grove City's been under the pressure cooker the last couple of weeks. They've had to win some tight games. Washington Jeff hasn't really been challenged, so they're cruising right along. I just feel like maybe Grove City could be a little burnt out, and I'll go with the Presidents 35-28.
Yeah, and you're hitting the reason I'm going to pick Grove City as you did that. I thought you may actually switch when you said what you said about battle testing to this point. Because, again, Grove City has faced their gauntlet. Westminster, which is their arch rival, essentially, and Case Western, and last week against Carnegie Mellon. And they have a knowledge of what's in front of them. This is the moment they've been waiting for. This is their chance to win a Pool A bid, finally, after a 33-game losing streak, after ECAC bid said they're appreciative for to this day. Still have all the swag from it and everything else. We got T-shirts, by the way, from Coach T. Donato. Thank you to him. But I'm going to pick Grove City here. They understand. They understand this moment. That's why their fifth years came back and everything else. Grove City wins this game 24-20. A close one, but a great one at that. Hobart at Ithaca. Okay. I would love to pick against Ithaca, I think, in certain ways for the Liberty League's sake, for what this is going to turn into. But I think this is where the carnage starts happening here, and Ithaca wins this game. Nothing against Ithaca. I love to see this Liberty League go down to the wire, basically, and I think Ithaca is going to start imposing their will starting with this game. Ithaca wins the game at home on the new turf by the final score of 27-17.
I would love my Hobart Statesmen to win this one. Every time I pick them in the last 5 or 6 seasons, they have lost by either a field goal or a touchdown. They're 0-17 at Butterfield. I just don't know with the youth on this team if they can compete with all these seniors and super seniors. And there's just this Butterfield curse. So I picked Ithaca to win 24-21 in my blog. Hope I'm wrong. I do feel like someone's going to knock off Ithaca eventually. I just don't know if it's going to be Hobart with just some of the inexperience that they have in some key positions.
The JB Can't Read Bowl. Salisbury at Christopher Newport. I think we both picked CNU last week. Is that accurate?
Yep. I think we stick with those and just keep rolling.
Trinity at Barry. You start.
I haven't been to enough games to have a curse yet, although MIT did win, so they were the home team. I don't know. I can't really pick against the Tigers at this point. I feel like they're on a mission. They're, like you said, with Grove City, they have all these fifth and senior guys who came back for this national championship run. Barry has looked amazing, but it feels like this is the Tigers' year. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, but I think Trinity will hang on to win 31-24.
Yeah, then be careful that Valhalla walk that you're going to be a part of because they may walk all over you after that pick. Trinity, though, I do think I think Trinity is the cream of the crop right now. I think they're back at full strength, unlike the whole St. John's situation. Barry's been playing lights out. I think they could go 9-1. I think they could get the Pool C bid ultimately if they lose this game. Trinity wins. Tucker Horn gets them up to 34 points against 24. It's going to be a good game. I just don't think it's going to go the way Barry. Yeah. Ohio Northern at Mount Union, which is my feature game for Region 4. I still think Mount Union wins this game. I just think that it's going to be their best competition to date, ultimately. And so I'm going to give Mount Union the win 40-14.
45-21 Mount Union.
Wabash at Ohio Wesleyan. Go ahead.
I think the Little Giants will jump out to a lead, hang on. Liam Thompson and company will put up a lot of points, 49-35.
Little Giants always fight, and they're going to fight hard here for a nice big win by the final score of 31-10. North Central at Wheaton. I'm calling for the upset.
Who's up, me or you? Okay.
No, that's me.
Ooh,
I'm calling for the upset. At Wheaton, in a rivalry game, a team that's battle-tested compared to North Central this season. It's not to say that North Central doesn't have battle testing from previous seasons and Stag Bowls and playoffs. I get it, folks. But right now in this season, with this component of players in front of them, Wheaton has the better battle-tested record. And to D3Football.com, to think that Augustana is a pushover team right now, you better read your own database on who's back for Augustana in terms of starters, etc., because that's not accurate, I don't believe. And so, I watched Augustana the week before. I wasn't surprised about what they did against Wheaton. Wheaton, I'm going to give a slight edge to jumping out early in this game. I know the clock's at 0, folks. We'll just keep rolling here. Wheaton wins 31-30 in an epic little brass bell game. Go ahead.
I think this game is going to come down to the quarterbacks, and Luke Lennon just has a little more experience than his counterpart, Ben Thorson. And so I feel like whether it's by air or by running around there, he's gonna make some plays happen. I do believe it will be a close game, probably a little more defensive battle than we think. But I'll say that the Cardinals hang on to win 27-21.
Platteville at River Falls. You start.
I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I just feel like this could be their year. They could be the eventual WEAC champs. We'll see. The Pioneers are no pushovers, but I'll take River Falls to win this one. A little lower scoring game, 24-10.
I agree with you on this one. I think we learned who they were in the Mary Hardin-Baylor game, but I'd like to see them confirm it in this game because Platteville is no pushover either. Yeah. We know that from last year. If Platteville wants to start doing what they did last year and creating havoc in the WEAC, this is a great place to start, though. I will say that much. And, we'll see where this goes. River Falls, though, I think wins semi-convincingly by the final score of 30-23. Late rally by Platteville. Whitewater at Oshkosh. Tough one. This is really tough. I didn't like what I saw from Whitewater in Belton. And Oshkosh knows that they kind of need to win this game at home. I'm going to go with Oshkosh. Something's just giving me a vibe here that this is also where you're going to start to see the carnage factor play out. The home game for Oshkosh means something here. I would have put them at almost level pegging, maybe with a slight edge to Whitewater if this wasn't at Oshkosh. It was neutral site game, let's say. But I'm going to go with Oshkosh, I'll get to you in a sec. Or you're just going to grab it and put it on? Belly of the beast. I hear you. But Oshkosh, I'm going to put with the win 21-17. Go ahead. I know where you're going already.
Yeah, I mean, although I also thought that Whitewater looked pretty lackluster in Texas, but they've had a week off. And just the way that the Titans defense just had nothing in that fourth quarter against Wheaton just tells me that these are the kind of games that Whitewater always thrives in. They just find little ways to keep sort of dinking and dunking and getting those first downs, and they'll score just enough to win this game. I think it'll be a lower scoring, more defensive battle, but I'll take the Warhawks to win 21-17.
JB, fun show. We are way late here for what we like to do, but it was worth every minute of it. Thanks to Brett Gross and everybody who signed us. Thanks to Nate Milne for showing up at the perfect time. I couldn't have scripted that better. That was so good. I'm going to be watching that back and clipping that one for sure and bleeping you for the second straight year. But great week of college football coming up. As always, how would you watch this weekend if you were a viewer not attending a game, as you will be?
Well, I would say per usual, because of the time zones, I would start off with some of these great Region 1 matchups, maybe Merchant Marine at Salve at noon. If you're a NESCAC kind of fan, you got Bowdoin Middlebury at 1, but also at 1 o'clock, there's a slate of really great games. Hobart, Ithaca, Catholic Susquehanna, and then as you get to the 2 p.m., we get these great W&J Grove City, Salisbury, CNU. 1 o'clock, we also have the Barry Trinity game, Howard Payne, Hardin Simmons at 2 o'clock. We've got Wittenberg Denison at 2 o'clock. We've got the Little Brass Bell at 2 o'clock, Wartburg, Carroll, Augustana. Those will all be really fantastic D3 games. And then you also have all the Platteville, River Falls, St. John's, Augsburg, Whitewater, Oshkosh. There's going to be a ton of really great games at 2 o'clock tomorrow. So try to get in early if you can to catch some of the Region 1 and 2 stuff. But it's going to be a little more condensed than we've seen in prior years. Obviously, the weekend starts off with the big Centennial contest tonight between Muhlenberg and Ursinus. But if you're a diehard D3 fan, you're going to have to really do the multiple screen thing in between like 1 and 4 p.m. Later on in the day, there will be some later games that pop on, like the Courage Bowl with Brockport and St. John Fisher, and then later on in the evening, with some of the West Coast and some 7 o'clock kickoffs. But for the most part, this weekend is going to be really packed, and so you're going to want to keep an eye on Frank Rossi's Twitter. Keep an eye on our Twitter. We'll be reporting live on scene. Hopefully, I don't get too dehydrated running up and down the sidelines in 90 degrees. I don't know where this hot weather came from, man. I thought it was supposed to be fall. But here we are, and it's going to be an exciting weekend of D3 football.
Make sure the pumpkin lattes are iced at this point is basically what he's saying, folks. In the meantime, it's 10 a.m. in the East Coast. If we're watching live, go have a great Friday. I'll see you tonight on Twitter from Ursinus, and then tomorrow we will see you on Twitter from Mount Berry and from Wheaton, essentially. It's going to be a great weekend of college football, as he said. We'll see you in Crunch Time next week as well on Facebook. And you know the routine. We're also going to give you a slight preview to our schedule coming up sometime on Sunday, interviews on Monday, and Crunch Time on Tuesday-ish at that point. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon, folks.